Good Monday afternoon to you. Hope you're having a great day. Thanks for joining us on Sports for CLE. Plenty of Browns news to talk about. Owners meetings going on down in Florida and some news coming out. A little later in the show, Brad Ward from All Eyes on Cleveland podcast and BrownsWire.com will join us to talk Browns. We begin by talking Browns to mention the owners meeting. News coming out this afternoon from Mary Kay Cabot, cleveland.com Browns beat reporter. Jarvis Landry and the Browns have quote-unquote mutual interest in him returning to Cleveland. Deshaun Watson, the quarterback, makes it intriguing for him, his new agent says. New agent also said Cleveland is home and he'd love to come back. This, though, coming from Dov Kleiman, Browns free agent wide receiver Jarvis Landry looking for $20 million a year. Chiefs, Saints, Falcons expressed interest in Landry during the free agency. Now, the Falcons was when it was presumed that Deshaun Watson was going to be there, and the Chiefs have since signed Juju Smith-Schuster. Let's welcome in G. Bush, host of The Barbershop on 92.3 The Fan. G. Bush, we talked about Jarvis. It certainly sounds like that could be headed in the direction of him returning to the Browns.
Well, I didn't expect for him to pony up and ask for $20 million, though. I mean, what was he? We let him go for what, 15, 16 million?
Yep.
That seems like a haul for Jarvis Landry, especially given the fact that they already let him go once. Maybe that's just something he has out there to just keep the price up. I don't know exactly what the Browns have because they're in a little bit of a cap conundrum. As long as they have the $18 million allocated to Baker Mayfield and he's still on the roster, it's kind of difficult to go out and make some big price purchases for other parts for Deshaun Watson in the offense when you do have that amount of money that's still on the books and you still have to clear through a trade. But I've been saying all along, I think Jarvis Landry brings a couple of really good things to the table. One, I always like to have Jarvis Landry with a true number one receiver so he can work in between the hashes and do some of the things that make him the dynamic player that he is. He's really not an outside guy. He's not a jump ball guy. He's not a fade. He's not a burner guy. But one thing that Jarvis does give you is great blocking on the interior. He gives you precision in his routes between the hash marks. And he also gives you some things that you can do in terms of jet motions. We've seen it on the goal line a lot of times, just giving him the ball on a quick jet sweep and him getting in and being tough enough to get there. Plus, I think he does a really good job of teaching, and he's a good locker room guy. So if you're looking at a guy like Schwartz that's going to be running some of the same routes as he is, Demetric Felton may be running some of those hybrid-type routes. He's going to be a good person to teach those routes. He's going to be a guy that has that level of professionalism. And I think he's a guy, when you have him in a slot, he has matchup problems. People are going to have that matchup problems with linebackers, safeties. I feel Jarvis Landry would be a great guy to bring back, and I think it just makes Amari Cooper that much better if you can have a guy like Jarvis Landry working in between the hashes and working underneath. So I like the move, but I don't know about $20 million, though. Yeah. I don't know Jarvis. I don't know where we get that from, dog.
Well, you got to ask for – if you don't ask for $20 million, you're not going to get $20 million. So
right.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think the other thing when you look at, you have Cooper, you have DPJ, you've got Jakeem Grant. He fits. He gives you something that you don't have with those guys. So I'm with you. I think he fits perfectly. All right, one of the new Browns, Chase Winovich, a guy that they traded Mack Wilson for, had something to say. He posted this on social media. Here's Chase Winovich.
What's up, Cleveland? This is your boy, Chase Winovich. So excited to be a Cleveland Brown. I'm ready to meet the dog pound. Let's go!
He's ready to go. G. Bush, I like that intensity from my defensive players.
I like what he can give me off the edge, man. I like his, I like his bend. I like his explosiveness around the edge. I think he can give you enough stoutness at the point of attack where he's not going to get bullied in terms of in the run game. I like what he brings as far as what we lack right now. And if we don't have Jadeveon Clowney, which we still have an APB out on him, we're still recruiting Mr. Clowney heavily. He can come on and back as well with Jarvis Landry, but we got to figure out the prices, right? But I think that what they're doing is they're trying to get guys. When you look at the rest of the league and you look at the rest of the AFC, one of the things that's going to really, really, decide who's the cream of the crop is if you can get pressure with four. That's going to be all it's about. Pressure with four and seeing if you can cover in the back end and be able to get that pressure with the four so that you guys, can line up and match up with some of these great offenses like, the AFC West is loaded. And if you just look at what they've done, they've gone out and done things like go get Gregory out there in Denver. You look at people, still going, and I just like Khalil Mack is just another guy that goes out to the AFC West. So now, as the Browns, you had a great 1-2 punch. We want to see if we can still get Jadeveon Clowney back. We need another couple extra guys to be able to fit in, get some pressure in the sub packages, get some pressure, get upfield. And that's the way that the AFC is going to be won. It's not about whether or not your quarterback is great. That matters. But I think it's going to come down to the smaller things. Which one of these teams, the elite teams or elite quarterbacks, can get that pressure? I think Chase Winovich is a guy who does that at a fairly decent level. And I think we need a couple more guys to go with him on top of that, especially in the middle. But I think that was a nice underrated signing by the Browns.
Yeah, I agree. I like what Winovich brings. All right, we're going to head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about the whole Deshaun Watson press conference.
Hi, I have a few observations about the Deshaun Watson press conference today. In what might be the most important news event in Cleveland Browns history, why were the Haslams hiding away in Europe? I don't know if I find that to be hilarious or just very, very sad. From their expressions, they wanted no part of this dance. Their absence is totally unacceptable. The question I would have asked today after Watson said that he didn't disrespect any women and that he didn't have any regrets is I would have said, Deshaun, are you saying that all 22 women accusing you of various sexual exploits are all lying? They're all lying, all 22. That's a yes or no question. I think Rich Eisen said it best when he called the event, it looked like a funeral. And from the body language of Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski, it looked like they were getting ready to visit their urologist for their yearly checkup. I mean, this thing with Watson is far from over.
Yeah, I don't know how long in advance the Haslams had planned to go to Europe or out of the country. They made an effort to answer questions, so from that standpoint, I get it. I get where people are saying they should have been there. I understand both sides of it.
Yeah, I always look at it like this. If they were in the room and they were there, what was the difference in the questions that you were going to ask? What were the difference in the answers that they would give you? So for me, if it's whether or not I'm doing questions via Zoom, if I'm doing questions via telephone interview, if I'm in person, it doesn't really change the question, the line of questioning, what you're going to say, and what the talking points are for the whole thing. For me, I think this was just, a situation where I quite didn't understand what people thought this was going to be. Like, what did you think you were going to get from Deshaun Watson? Did you think you were going to just give him some questions that, like, straight out of the, prosecution's handbook, and he's going to say, you know what? Yeah, I did it. That was all me. 22, yep, that was all me. I'm going to stand up and take response. That was never going to happen. You got to think about it. You got a pending case going right now. And for people asking those same line of questions, whether it's do you regret anything, or are you saying that all of these individual women are lying on you? You have to think about it. His lawyer is going to tell him, and any good lawyer would tell you, we are not speaking on a continuing and opening case, because at the end of the day, in a civil case, anything that you say today and you answer a reporter or you answer a fan or you answer anybody, that information can and will be used against you in a civil lawsuit. So yes, you may be upset because you don't get your instant gratification as far as your answers to whether or not you want to, ease your burden and saying, well, I don't know if I want him on the team or not. You're not going to get those answers. Those answers aren't coming, and you're going to have to wait till the proceedings to even get and dig deep into these allegations. So I don't know why people thought they were going to get anything. I thought, he was going to answer the questions the way he did. I didn't gain anything either way. I didn't come out of this situation saying, oh, my goodness, he's definitely innocent. Or I didn't come out saying, like, man, this guy really looked bad up there. I thought it was what it was. And I think everybody that asked questions during that day got what they should have expected, which was answers that were kind of, canned and safe and, what he's going to say. So I think either way, it wasn't moving, or there was no damning information that came out during that press conference.
No, and again, there's pending civil litigation against him, so he can't really say anything. All right, let's listen to this. This is kind of interesting. So Greg Cosell is a guy for NFL Films that breaks down film for a living. He was on the Ross Tucker podcast. Here is how Greg Cosell, really good at breaking down film, feels Deshaun Watson fits into Kevin Stefanski's system.
I think in Kevin Stefanski's offense, which, every offense is built on structure. Everybody needs to understand that. No coach says, let's just run around today and see what happens. I think that Kevin Stefanski's offense theoretically is a good fit for most quarterbacks because it really presents things clearly to the quarterback, defines things for the quarterback. And then if it obviously doesn't work, now you have Deshaun Watson, who has outstanding ability to make something happen outside the structure of the design. So I think he'll fit very well. I think most quarterbacks theoretically would fit well in a Kevin Stefanski offense.
And G. Bush, what he's saying is when it goes well, he'll be able to do it 90% of the time. If it doesn't go well, he's going to find a way to make it work probably better than 50% of the time.
Yeah, and I think when you look at a lot of people, and this is the disappointing thing to me is, when you go back, you break it down to football X's and O's and what's going on that field. You can say that, this is a head scratcher from a standpoint of you giving away a lot of assets to a guy that, definitely doesn't know how long he's going to be suspended or what the ramifications of those allegations are. That's fine. You can say that. But when you talk about football as a football sense, this is a slam dunk. People, sometimes it's like I'm sitting here listening to the national media, and they're hoping and wishing like he's going to be terrible all of a sudden. But when you go back to that film and you look at what Kevin Stefanski wants to do, he's gonna have two stellar running backs to hand the ball to, and those guys do it in a different way, and they can catch the ball out of the backfield, good hands. They don't put the ball on turf, and they run extremely hard. So now you're going to turn around and you say, okay, well, now we got the play action game where Deshaun Watson has levels of touch on his football. He can throw the beautiful deep ball if you go back and look at it. He has touch on his intermediate throws, can put the ball on the money. And then when nothing isn't working, when everything breaks down, he can just be special with his legs. And he can get you that extra, 10 yards, that extra 11 yards. And the thing that he's not like some of these other guys. Some guys want to run, and they run and get the first down, and that's what they're just looking to do. But Deshaun Watson is not only looking to run, he can do that too, but he can move in the pocket and extend the play to go deep. That's one of the things that you got to stay glued on to those guys as defensive backs. And Deshaun Watson does a good job of giving you all three game plans that you can run. I can run a play action with him. I can run the zone game with him. I can do the RPO stuff. I can do the deep balls, and he can extend plays. So from a standpoint of what the Cleveland Browns already had with a great offensive line and a running game and a tight end that can get vertical, it looks really good for the Browns offense. And I put their offense with anybody in the AFC or in the entire NFL as what they can do to make defenses just go crazy.
Yeah, keep in mind, Deshaun Watson has never had a running back like Kareem Hunt or Nick Chubb. Now he's got both of them. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch that offense. All right, G. Bush and I need to step out, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we'll turn our attention. Some news about Baker Mayfield. We will dive into that. Sports for CLE will be back. Stay with us.
Life is getting back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tri-c.edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for spring classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with G. Bush, host of the Barbershop 92.3, The Fan. All right, we're going to head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about Baker Mayfield, something that this viewer heard over the weekend.
Hey, just another diehard Browns fan with a question for you. So I was watching the Tomahawk podcast with Joe Thomas and Hawkins. And Joe Thomas said that the Browns offered Baker a contract last season for $30 million a year, and he turned it down. He said he wanted to bet on himself. Is there truth to that? And if so, I wonder how come that never made it out that we even offered him a contract. You know what I mean? So what do you guys think, and how true is that? I'm not saying Joe Thomas don't know what he's talking about. I'm just wondering, that was pretty sick that I wonder why Baker would turn that down, So your thoughts. Go Browns.
All right, so let's listen. This is the Tomahawk podcast with Joe Thomas, Andrew Hawkins, that the caller is referencing.
To me, it seemed like Baker overplayed his hand a little bit, because the interesting thing was at that moment, the Browns were out of the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. And it seemed by all accounts that they were ready to do what it took to smooth things over with Baker. And this was just my speculation, because they offered him a $30 million a year contract last season. He said, no, I'm going to, continue to play under this contract. I think I'm worth more, which is fine. That's your right. And, if he would have had a great season, we probably would have been talking about a $40 million a year contract. We would have said, hey, bravo, way to believe in yourself, way to bet on yourself. That was the right move. But he overplayed his hand a little bit, because at that point, the Browns were backed into a corner. He was their quarterback, and he could have said, hey, I realized that you guys went after Deshaun Watson. It didn't sit well with me, but to make it up to me, I need to do something with this contract. You need to commit to me so I can commit to you, right? Let's bring this relationship back together. Let's get remarried. Let's have our 10-year renewal of vows. In this case, the 5-year renewal of our vows. Pay me more money, commit to me, build its team around me, and we go down this river happily ever after. But he didn't say that. He got a little sensitive about it. He got a little bit emotional. And that's when he released this, I'm not going to play for them. And he went radio silence on the Cleveland Browns and said, you have to trade me to the Indianapolis Colts, thinking that he was perceived as a franchise quarterback in the NFL and that he could kind of dictate the terms of where he was going to be traded.
And today, Mary Kay Cabot tweets it was 100% false that Baker Mayfield turned down $30 million a year before the 21 season from the Browns. Nothing imminent on the trade front as far as Baker Mayfield goes. So, G. Bush, before we get into it, I know Mary Kay is a guest on your show. She's a guest here frequently. She has really good sources. She is right most of the time. She's well respected in NFL circles. She had this whole Baker Mayfield in the front office fracture at the end of the season. So I'm going with her on this one because she's right most of the time.
Yeah, when you look at it, Mary Kay has been spot on when it comes to, and a lot of people didn't want to admit it, because, if you go back and you look at where we're at today, and you look at what she was printing when she was writing back then about Baker Mayfield, and where, some people in the Browns fandom may be over evaluating and estimating the worth of Baker Mayfield in the marketplace. And the marketplace has spoken. There's a lot of teams that are out there that went in other directions when they could have went after Baker Mayfield. So in this case, $30 million might have been something that, people were hearing or throwing around, or we kind of figured that was, the market value for a Baker Mayfield. But now when you look at it, that could have been something that, that may have been a starting point for both sides to say, okay, what do you think you're worth? You say, I think, right now as speaking, we would, about $30 million or whatever the case may be. But I don't think the Browns offered Baker Mayfield a deal. I really think that the Browns, if you go back and listen to it, when you ask Andrew Berry, he said 5 months they've been going through this ordeal with Deshaun Watson. So that means even back in late October, early November, they're already trying to do their due diligence on him. So for me, I don't think after that fourth year, I think we all were like, yo, this is great. We got to the playoffs. We beat the Steelers. That was cool. And Baker's the first quarterback that we've had that has done anything like that. We kind of, put a little extra sauce on it, so to speak. And that wasn't the case with the Browns brass. The Browns brass and a lot of GMs, a lot of talent evaluators had Baker Mayfield in the bottom part of the league as far as starting quarterbacks, and they believed that they needed to have an upgrade. So we're kind of bearing that out today. I don't ever think when they went after Deshaun Watson, they ever had in their mind they were going to just go back to Baker. I thought that was already a done deal. When they moved on and said he's not good enough to get us where we want to go, which is a Super Bowl, I think they said if it was not going to be Deshaun Watson, it'll be somebody else. I don't think Baker was coming back past that point.
Yeah, I can't disagree. All right, so we're going to go back again. Greg Cosell, the guy that breaks down film for NFL Films. This is what he saw with Baker Mayfield. This is on the Ross Tucker podcast again.
To me, there's probably something off the field here that we don't know about. When I say that, I don't mean he's done something wrong. I mean just maybe attitude, things of that nature. There's got to be something like that. Because I think when you talk to coaches, they'll tell you that Baker Mayfield is very, very talented. Now, there's been a lot of talk about, he didn't fit into Kevin Stefanski's system. I don't buy that. In fact, I think that when I went back and watched Mayfield coming out of college, he was actually a precision player. There was a sense that he's sort of an improvisational, loosey-goosey player. That's not when Mayfield's been at his best, nor did he play that way at Oklahoma in that last year. So I don't know what happened. I know that they were lacking receivers this year. I know that teams started to condense their coverage and really squeeze the offense, the pass game, particularly on third down, where they were not very good at all on third down. And my guess is, without knowing what's in Baker Mayfield's head, that he just didn't feel like there were throws to be made, and he got stuck a lot. And, when he gets stuck a lot and he starts to move, I think the recklessness in his game at times comes out.
And again, G. Bush, when you hear somebody who watches a lot of film break it down, that's kind of what you saw from Baker Mayfield this year.
Yeah, to me, it's always been two things with Baker. It's not the fact that he can't throw the ball. It's not the fact that he doesn't have accuracy inside of structure. And it's not the fact that he doesn't have a strong arm. The thing that always got me about Baker Mayfield is pocket presence and also diagnosing defenses quick enough. There were times where those two things led to decision-making where you just say, why would you, at that down and distance, why would you throw that ball? Or, hey, take the check down right there and live to fight another day. But there's times where, the coverage would dictate a certain thing. It was, when the coverage would come out in one thing and shift to another thing at the snap of the football, and Baker struggles during those circumstances. And sometimes when you look at it and you look at the way he throws the football and where he gets in trouble at, is the fact that sometimes it looks like he just doesn't know that defender was supposed to be there, or he wasn't expecting that to happen. And so, throwing with anticipation is a huge thing for a quarterback, especially throwing with anticipation when you're under duress. And that kind of separates the different quarterbacks and the levels. The great ones know where everyone's going. The great ones actually will know what you're doing. And then when you shift to something, they'll look you off and then throw right to the spot where they're supposed to where the ball has to go. And that's the thing about Baker, is the diagnosis of defense. It's making the decisions. And sometimes he hurts his team. I go back to the Green Bay game. If you just throw 2 interceptions, you're in it, right? Just throw 2. You ain't got to throw 4. If you throw 2, we right where we need to be. And that's the difficult part that hurts you all the time, is if you just keep the ball and you just become. And he did that in 2020. He did that well. He wasn't going to hurt you at the end of the season. He made the right throws, and you see how successful the team was. Sometimes I think he feels that he's a little bit of a gunslinger, and that can hurt him a little bit.
All right, so John Dorsey, the guy who drafted him, back in town for a meeting, and there you have it. Somebody tweets out John Dorsey back in town over the weekend, and I will say I know John Dorsey liked him a lot, G. Bush. I think the Detroit Lions could be a dark horse candidate to acquire him. Just keep an ear out, keep an eye out for John Dorsey.
Yeah, anytime you are a guy that somebody else picked, he picked you for a reason. He believes in you. And John Dorsey, in his heart of hearts, probably believes if I was still there, I think I could have put Baker in a better position. I think Baker would have thrived under this a little bit better. This is why I took him. These are some things I would implement. And now you look at what the Lions got. You know, I think, you know, Jared Goff is a system guy. I don't think he's like a franchise guy by any stretch of the imagination. And I think when you look at the tools healthy, I think Baker Mayfield is a better player than Jared Goff. So to me, I would consider, you know, that a place where he can go. He can, you know, possibly even commit and compete to be one of the quarterbacks or the starting quarterback going into the season, because Jared Goff has issues with being injured as well. And I think Baker, whether you want to say it or not, he is a lightning rod. He does spark an emotion. And I think guys that are in that organization for the Detroit Lions, he has a little moxie. He has a little something that can come in and be like, look, man, I was in a place before in Cleveland where we never won anything, never won any playoff games. And guess what? You guys have a big bad brother in Green Bay. Well, guess what? Ours was the Steelers. I was able to go in and beat the Steelers at the Steelers, right? In a playoff game. So what if I could come in here and in the next couple of years, what if I told you we could be in a position to go to Green Bay in a playoff game and beat the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau? People in Detroit would be thinking like, oh, this guy's crazy. But he invokes that level of emotion, and he does have that in his back pocket that he can tell guys in the locker room from a team that has not been a team that has anything to play for. So I think and I continue to say it. I don't know what the Seattle Seahawks are doing, but I mean, between Baker and Drew Lock, come on, man. Maybe they just want to tear it all the way down. But I think with a solid running game and some weapons out there, why wouldn't you bring Baker Mayfield in and get him out there? And them is the best receivers he's had, Lockett and DK Metcalf. Come on, man. With a crazy fan base, I'd take him out there. But Detroit and Dorsey, I think, would be a decent place for him to restart his career.
I would agree. And again, I think he's one of the best 32 quarterbacks, so I think he's a starter. All right, G. Bush and I got to run, take a quick timeout. Other side of the break, we go back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about the running game. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about the Browns' running game.
Hey, I was wondering, it seems like every year they talk about how great of a duo Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt is, and every time I seem to watch it, it seems like one of them does pretty good. If one's injured, one steps up and stuff like that. But when are we really going to release the two-headed monster that is Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb? Thank you.
And G. Bush, I have been a long proponent of putting them on the field together in certain packages. I know they want to keep them fresh. I think that just gives defenses a lot to worry about.
Man, especially when you don't have receivers, right? To me, the Browns' base package should be, especially when you talk about shotgun, And I know he likes the 5 wide with the 3 tight ends. Well, we're down 1 tight end, so maybe that might be out of the game plan. So I'm coming out when I'm third down. I need Deshaun Watson in that split back in this shotgun. Kareem Hunt on one side, Nick Chubb on the other side. You can bring your tight end and David Njoku and give me on the one side Amari Cooper. And if we get Jarvis back, let's roll with that. And now what you got an opportunity to do is so much. You can run the zone read out of that. You can set your screen game up out of that. You can flare both backs out. You can isolate Kareem Hunt on a linebacker. You can motion them out. Now you got jet sweep options if you want to move out, move Njoku out and bring Schwartz in at the slot position. Now you're moving around a little bit. You see what I mean? Now you can run your jet motions and all of those different things, but when you give both of those guys an opportunity to be in the backfield, when you're in 3rd and 3 and 3rd and 4, both guys on the field at the same time, you got a problem. And Kareem Hunt has showed you in 2019, he was playing a glorified fullback in Freddie Kitchens' playbook. So that means he's a hard-nosed guy. He's not afraid to get up in there and block. You can max protect with that too and just run a 3. It's so many things that you can do with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb in the backfield. And I think Kevin Stefanski should commit to saying, look, I'm going to have those guys out there 25 to 30% of the time, both of them, in all our packages to truly give teams nightmares, especially now that you got an upgraded quarterback.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think – if you're a defensive coordinator and both those guys are on the field together, you're just going, man, what do we do? All right, this is from the Bleacher Report. Predicting NFL stars that may be entering their final season with the current teams. And for the Browns, it's Kareem Hunt. They say re-signing Hunt, who will be a free agent 2023, will be difficult. Cleveland projected to have $30.1 million in cap space, 11th lowest. Significant chunk of that may go to Denzel Ward, who's entering the final year of his rookie deal. Now, having said that, G. Bush, we know with Andrew Berry, the one thing is every year is a new year, and he will find a way with the cap. The other thing is cap's going up. Cap is going up, and it's going to continue to go up. But could Kareem Hunt be in his last year? Yeah, but if it's a successful season, those guys will do the cap gymnastics to find a way to make it work.
Somebody told me, and I keep trying to tell people this, man. There's only been one team. There's 2 teams I've known that's been in cap purgatory. One of the teams was the San Francisco 49ers a couple of years ago when I think Eddie DeBarlo and those guys were out there. They had a tough time with the cap. They had to pretty much shut it all the way down and start back over in the 90s. And the Saints are in a little bit of a cap purgatory because they have always been kicking the can down the road with Drew Brees and his contract. And now some of those things are coming home to roost. But for the most part, the cap is mythical. The cap is imaginary. You guys got to realize, yes, we like to keep draft picks, and yes, the cap is always on the horizon. But for the most part, they got guys that do nothing but figure out how to manipulate the cap. And the cap continues to keep going up because guess what? The football is king. A lot of this where we go and we speculate, football seems to be the only sport where the numbers just don't matter. It doesn't matter what happens outside of it. Doesn't matter what happens inside of it. As long as you give it a 17, 18 games and you're still giving it to us in the way we like to watch and view it, the NFL just keeps printing money. So the cap's going to go up. If you look at it, the Browns, I thought this year, there's no way they'd be able to keep Dearness Johnson. Guess what? He's on the roster.
Yeah.
I thought there was no way that you could keep some. I'm like, how are they going to get Jarvis and Clowney back? Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, we might get Clowney and Jarvis back, and I'm like, well, what happened to this cap? It's imaginary. They'll find a way to get it done. They'll find a way to get some money from somewhere, and for the most part, as long as you got, and even if they did lose Kareem Hunt, I mean, they still got Chubb and Dearness Johnson, who are, once again, 2 of the best running backs, and the offensive line is still where the offensive line is.
All right. This is a tweet from a viewer to us asking about potentially signing Tyrann Mathieu for secondary at free safety. Love it. Don't know if you'd be able to afford him. Don't know. I like where he's thinking. A free safety, a true free safety, where you can allow John Johnson and Delpit to play more in the box would help.
Mm-hmm. I like it. I don't know where they're going to get this money from. I just talked about how the cap is imaginary, and all of a sudden I'm like, well, they don't have enough money. So, no, I really believe that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to try to bring him back. They didn't bring Tyreek Hill back, and he got $76 million as guaranteed, highest paid receiver over Devontae Adams. I think they're going to try to really bring them back. I think in Kansas City, Kansas City is trying to move a little towards where Cleveland is, believe it or not, with the way they play football. I think over the last couple of years, people may have caught up to Kansas City and what they like to do in terms of some of the jet sweep stuff and in terms of the RPO stuff. If you look at it, Patrick Mahomes made some mistakes that I didn't used to see Patrick Mahomes make, and that's just a function of him being able to do so many different things at different arm angles, and he's so talented, he thinks he can make every play. But defenses, when you throw the ball that much and you do some of those things, you get away from that balance. You get away from, hey, it's hard to stop a team when they're mixing it up on you, man. You don't know if it's a run, pass, they're doing good jobs, they're mixing a screen game. So I think that's the way they're going. And I think to play that way, you got to have a strong defense. I think they want to bring Tyrann Mathieu back at that free safety. In Cleveland, we're actually kind of solid in that position. John Johnson and Grant Delpit are there. I think Grant Delpit had his easing in season. I think a lot of people don't realize that he's a second-year guy. I thought John Johnson played a lot better than he did in the first part of the year. And as far as the corner position, I think the Browns are probably one of the better teams in the league in terms of their top three corners. Greedy Williams had a really nice bounce back year. I thought it was a big plus for him that he got through every single game. Some of the same things that he had in his neck, I have in my neck with herniated disc and stuff from playing. So I know how cranky it is. I don't do anything. All I do is talk on his microphones and look down at the computer sometimes, and my neck hurts. So I know Greedy is really excited about him doing this thing. And then Newsome being a guy that got that experience, and then Denzel Ward, I think the secondary is solid. But if we can find some of that money in that cap for Tyrann Mathieu, I'll take him. Yeah. I'll take him in a heartbeat every day and twice on Sunday.
Yep, you can't have enough guys that can play football on the defensive side of the football. All right, G. Bush and I going to take one more time out. Other side of the break, we head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. We'll also ask, what do the Browns do in the draft? Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
We head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about the Deshaun Watson trade.
Comment on Deshaun Watson, the whole trade and this $230 million deal. Now, I think it's a great deal for the Browns because we're only looking at it in today's perspective. Look how much these QBs are getting paid. Look what Patty Mahomes, even look at what Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert's going to get within the next 3 to 4 years. Quarterbacks are going to be almost $300 million men by the time this Deshaun Watson trade, this 5 years goes down. So getting the Browns, getting him for 5 years in his prime at $230 million guaranteed, you're going to see $250, $280, $300 million guaranteed from some of these newer quarterbacks in the next couple of years. Very smart move by the Browns. They lock him in at a great price. And once we get through all these allegations, we're going to be just fine. In 4 years, we're going to be seeing how smart of a man Andrew Berry is.
All right, as always, we appreciate all the voicemails. Now let's piggyback that with this tweet from Pro Football Talk. So the Deshaun Watson trade, coupled with an unprecedented guaranteed contract, is making the Browns owners not very popular at the ongoing league meetings down in Florida. G. Bush, you know what? I agree with the voicemailer. I think it was a shrewd business move. And the reason the other owners don't like it, it's guaranteed. You got Burrow coming up. You got Herbert coming up. You got a lot of guys coming up that are going to get a lot of money.
Yeah, and here's the thing. A lot of people is uncomfortable because the Browns is not a laughingstock no more. You know, guys are going to have to find somebody where else to go to get their easy, low-hanging fruit. All the Cleveland burning and river burning and dumpster fire and all this divisiveness between the owners and the front. Y'all going to have to find another team because here's the thing. You know, we should have learned last year. We learned from, the Odell Beckham thing. It was trash in Cleveland, and all of a sudden he went to L.A., and then it was good. Now you're looking at us, and you're saying, well, I don't know how this is going to work for the Browns, the Deshaun Watson thing. I'm like, come on, stop it. This is a great move. This locks you in at a price. We already talked about the cap will continue to go up. All the rest of these quarterbacks are going to be getting $300, $400 million. We're going to be at that guaranteed dollar. And the thing is, yeah, it kind of ruffles a few feathers because now guys like Lamar Jackson are going to be going too. They're going to be going right to the ownership of the Ravens and say, listen, man, I've already won an MVP. I'd have been in the playoffs multiple times. Do you know what I do in this league? How come he gets it? By all means, Baltimore Ravens, go ahead and pony up. That's what you got to do. It's the price of doing business now. So now, yeah, you guys we've been really nice to you. We've been happy. You can always count on the Browns doing the wrong thing. You can always count on the Browns to be the whooping boys. But now, you guys are going to have to pony up and do something because now, go ahead, Cincinnati. Joe Burrow is coming up next. Herbert is coming up next. Kyler Murray out in Arizona. Get ready for them big paydays because they're on the way. And so at the end of the day, the league has gotten away with pay. I mean, think about it. The only person that get paid is a quarterback anyway. Yeah. The major guys, who else you paying? They're voiding contracts left and right. We just got rid of a guy who was going to get a $15 million payday in Jarvis Landry, and a center that was, too expensive in J.C. Treader. The league's not paying anybody besides quarterbacks, defensive ends, defensive backs, and maybe occasionally a wide receiver. Other than that, everybody else gets paid when they can get paid. They get one contract, maybe two contracts, but this is my face. This is my violin. I'm just really sad for the owners, and they got to pay that money.
Good move by Andrew Berry. G. Bush, as always, man. Appreciate the time and the insight. Great stuff. Thanks very much.
Appreciate you, man. Talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good. Garrett Bush, G. Bush, make sure you listen to him. The Barbershop, he's the host. 92.3 The Fan, Saturday from 8 to noon. We're in a step side. Take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we continue talking Browns with Brad Ward from the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast and BrownsWire.com. We'll be right back on Sports4CLE. Stay with us.
Life is getting back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tri-c.edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for spring classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
and educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams. I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We continue talking Browns. We're going to head right to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about the success Deshaun Watson has had so far with the Texans.
Hi. Yes, I am calling as a lifelong Browns fan, and I have a question about Deshaun Watson I have not heard anyone pose, which is, do you suppose that his statistics for so many years have been so impressive because he played on a bad team in a weak division, and much of his yardage was made after the game's outcome had already been determined? I'd like to know what your take on that is. Thanks.
All right, as always, we appreciate all of the voicemails. Let's welcome in Brad Ward from the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast, as well as BrownsWire.com. So what do you think? What do you think the success of Deshaun Watson is due to?
What's up, Dave? Thanks for having me back. Yeah, I mean, listen, the success is his success. I mean, my eyes don't lie to me. I've watched him play. He's terrific on the field. That's never been a question, in my opinion. And to say that he played on bad teams is just false. In 2019 and 18, they had 10 wins in 19 and 11 wins in 18. So he didn't really play on bad teams except for maybe his first and his last year. And his first year was very limited playing time. And last year, of course, he put up 4,800 yards. But still, I mean, let's talk. He was almost over 4,000, 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions in 19, and they went to the playoffs, almost beat the Chiefs. We're up big on them. And 11 wins in 2018 over 4,000 yards. So a quarterback ranking of over 100. So I don't think those numbers lie at all.
Yeah, I'm with you. And again, hasn't had a running back like Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt, hasn't had an offensive line like he's going to play with. Has had really good wide receivers. You know, he played with DeAndre Hopkins. So we heard a little bit earlier in the show from Greg Cosell, breaks down film for NFL.com. He was on the Ross Tucker podcast. This is what he talked about when he sees Deshaun Watson, what he sees from him as a quarterback.
How you see him in Kevin Stefanski's offense, because I kind of feel like with a lot of the play action and boot stuff that Stefanski loves to do, he's probably salivating over having someone that has the athletic ability that Watson does to really, I think, you know, on those bootlegs and some of that stuff, he can really press the edge and put the defense in a bind.
Yeah, and I think Watson has been at his absolute best when he's really found that perfect balance between playing within structure and then playing outside of structure when it's demanded. I think he's had stretches in his career where he's done that and has played at an incredibly high level. I think he's also had moments in his career where he's left the pocket too early, left throws on the field. Now, he played in Houston behind an offensive line where I'm sure in his head he probably at times anticipated pressure and perceived pressure that wasn't really there. But because he probably went into games thinking, hey, I am going to get pressure, I'm sure that he felt like I'm just going to have to move. And he knows he can make plays on the move.
So, Brad, let me ask you this. How do you think Deshaun Watson fits? And then I know you have some concerns. So what are some of your concerns? Give me both of those.
Yeah, so I have no concerns on the field. Let's be clear. I mean, he will fit this offense perfectly. Greg Cosell knows his stuff. And he's played in a very similar offense and excelled in it, right? Like, so he, with an upgrade of offensive line, he's extremely intelligent in reading defenses and his ability to use the legs. I mean, I think that he will totally change this offense, you know, and upgrade it immensely. I was wrong on this. You remember I said they wouldn't do any of these moves. I said, sustain the success, and they went all in on this. my concern is not on the field at all. And I think Greg is absolutely correct about his ability to enhance the Browns offense. But my concern, I guess, is when will he get on the field? I guess at the press conference, which was very uncomfortable and for lots of good reason, right? But my concern is his doubling down on, I'm going to fight all 22 cases. I would want to have asked him, Dave, if it means getting on the field sooner, would you consider settling and moving on with your life? Like, a lot of people are going to feel this way about you either way. Even if you fight all 22, some of you are still going to think you're guilty. At what point, it kind of feels like he took a big gray cloud and just moved it over from Houston to over Cleveland right now. And as long as we're in this, it's going to feel like that. So why not try to settle it, get the punishment from the, you got all this new money, and I understand that it's up to him. If he can get there mentally, right, where he's okay with that, like gets up in front and say, hey, it just wasn't feasible for me to fight all these cases and still move on with my career in a timely fashion. So I'm going to settle and move on with my life in Cleveland, new city, new career. That just seems to make more sense to me than dragging this out, which could take a long, long time before he gets on the field if he's really going to fight all 22 cases, Dave.
Yeah, and I hear you, and I get it. It's tough. He's in a tough spot with that because if he truly believes that he's innocent, which he's come out and said,
Absolutely.
I get it. I get where he's going with it. All right, so with Deshaun Watson comes, what do you do with Baker Mayfield? Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about Baker Mayfield and what the Browns should do.
Yeah, I've been a Browns fan for 50 years, and I'm wondering about the Baker Mayfield issue. Why cut him? If you're worried about the money, why don't you just keep him on the roster? And if he refuses to play, does he get a game check? I know they're static with the organization over Baker, but if it's about the money, why don't I just keep him on the team? Hey, thanks a lot. Appreciate you guys.
All right, we appreciate the voicemails. Brad, let's take a look at this tweet. So this gives us a little bit of perspective financially. So if the Browns have yet to move on from Baker Mayfield by June 1st, what they would have to do is they'd have to split it, void 4 years to split the 2022 dead cap. So if they eat $10 million to the trade, convert $10 million to a signing bonus, it's $2 million in dead cap space in 22, $8 million in 23, so you push it down. If you cut them, you convert the 17, almost $18 million to a signing bonus, then it's 3.5 against you in 2022 and 14 against you in 2023. And keep in mind, in 2023, you're going to have Deshaun Watson's second year of his deal. You're going to have probably Denzel Ward, an extension. So you see the mental gymnastics and the cap gymnastics that they have to do. The other thing is, it's tough to have. You signed Jacoby Brissett to be your backup quarterback because you're probably going to keep the offense very similar.
Yeah, you don't want to carry Baker Mayfield's contract because he's not going to play it down for you, let's be honest. So to the voicemail, it is about the money. It is about the money. It's about the money, 100%. So if you can attach, I mean, we've even heard these rumors, right? If you can attach a trade piece, a late round draft pick to somebody to take this contract on, Detroit, Seattle, I think are kind of the places that are getting rumored right now. It's like musical chairs and the music is stopped and there's like Jimmy G and Baker left, right? Just about ready trying to sit down in that Seattle seat. And Detroit is in the mix, I think, a little bit for him, but they're going to have to eat probably some of the money. And in that, Jack's excellent with his breakdown on the cap, but yeah, it's kicking the can down the road post June 1, right? So if they want to designate him post June 1 and eat 10 million of it so that somebody will take him off your hands, that's taking $8 million off your books now. You'll only, because of post June 1, you only have to pay 2 of it because of the void years, and you're basically you're stringing it out post June 1, you can kick the rest of that bonus money into next year. Same thing if you cut him. Cutting him is worst case scenario, I think. I think you've got to be able to, if you're going to eat $10 million, you should at least be able to get somebody to take him off your hands at $8 million for a starting quarterback in the NFL. And he's easily one of the top 25, in my opinion, quarterbacks in the NFL. He should be a starter somewhere. So $8 million, somebody should take him off your hands.
Yeah, I'm with you. I do believe he is a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL. All right, yeah. Brad Ward and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Other side of the break, we look ahead and look at the roster not related to the quarterback position. Sports for CLE will be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with Brad Ward from the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast, as well as BrownsWire.com. Brad, upgrading the passing game, an important thing. They got the quarterback in Deshaun Watson. Are you getting a little concerned about the other piece of that, the wide receivers?
Yeah, it's getting thin out there, right? Like a lot of the names that I had, checks and stars and highlighted on my notes are gone now, right? So it's thin on the market. There's still guys out there, and there's multiple ways to get this done via trade. Like I think one possibility that I kind of been thinking of, Dave, and even tweeted about is Miami bringing in all their new wide receivers. They may want to get off of Devontae Parker. I think that would be an interesting trade possibility. There's going to be situations like that where guys are going to want to move, and there's going to be contract disputes and things like that. They may need to get creative there. But ultimately, Jarvis seems like a great fit to come back, but him asking for $20 million is just so outrageous. It's just hard to fathom that that's what they thought, or that's the advice he got from his manager or agent, that's what he was going to make on the open market. I mean, it's crazy kind of to think of that his numbers would justify that figure.
What about Jadeveon Clowney? And again, a lot of this is probably tied to figuring a way to get the $19 million of Baker Mayfield that we talked about last segment off the books, so you can bring in Clowney and wide receiver, whomever. But do you think we haven't heard Clowney or really Jarvis Landry attached to anybody. Do you expect Clowney to be back?
I do. I think he'll be back. I think it was The Athletic reported there's an offer out there of $24 million for 2 years. I don't know what the guaranteed money on that is, but that would be a good deal, I think, for both sides. 2 years. The problem is I think he wants somebody to sign him long term, but it's just at his age and with his injury history, I just don't think he's going to get that deal. And he mentioned, I remember when this all going down, and this was before Deshaun Watson, which kind of changes things for a lot of these guys, I think, that Baker's not the quarterback anymore. And they feel like they are or can be Super Bowl contenders, that Clowney was going to wait and play the slow game. And he always kind of has done that, you know what I mean, in free agency. And at times I think it's hurt him that he's waited because teams run out of money, basically. So I think eventually he'll come back to the Browns. I think he's trying to, see what the market is, see if anybody's going to give me a long-term contract with the kind of guaranteed money I want. If not, I think he'll be back with the Browns, and ultimately I think he'll be back with the Browns.
All right, last thing I'll ask you before we go. What areas do you think need to be addressed in free agency?
Knowing Andrew Berry, I think that he would like to address – you got to address the defensive line before the draft, right? Like he doesn't want to go into the draft being pigeonholed into drafting an interior defensive lineman, an edge, help, whatever he needs to do. Right now, on their roster, it's not overwhelming on the interior defensive line. So I think a guy that you can't draft is a veteran, big body, shade nose, run stuffing type. I think that you would be better off doing that in free agency. Akeem Hicks is out there. Linval Joseph is out there. Somebody like that. Calais Campbell's still out there. Somebody like that you can go out and get that can play at least first and second down for you. They may have to stopgap this defensive line thing with 1-year deals and a rookie that can play a role, and the guys that are on the team, whatever roles they can play. They may kind of have to do that with the interior defensive line this year. Because there's not really anybody out there that's like a stud that they can just put in there and say, go for it, all 3 downs. You know what I mean? So, I think adding to that defensive line before the draft will be key. So doesn't feel like he has to fill that void. And it would be hard for a rookie to fill that void, that run stuffing, big body type. It kind of takes a couple years to get a feel for that role on the defense.
Brad Ward, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks, Brad.
Always, Dave.
All right, Brad Ward. Make sure you read him. He's brownswire.com. Also, look for the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast. Brad hosts that. All right, that'll do it for this edition of Sports4CLE. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Scheduled guests, Quincy Carrier and Chris Fedor, Cavs beat reporter for the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. That's tomorrow at 4 o'clock. We'll see you then. Have a great night, everybody.